different languages that he put together. And every time I read it, it doesn't just say, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. It doesn't just say, my God, why have you forsaken me? That every author that penned this, it was such a monumental statement that they wrote what Jesus said in the original language and then decided to then translate, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? As we've been preaching through the characters of Easter, one of the things we have to realize, it isn't just Jesus that's there, but you have the Roman soldiers, you would have had other Gentiles, you would have had family and friends of Jesus, you would have had family and friends of both the thieves that are on each side of them. So when people would have heard that, my God, why are you forsaking me? Everybody hears it differently. Why? Because our perception is our reality. What we understand is our perspective. And so we hear everything by a biased mind. And so when you would hear people say, my God, why are you forsaking me? At that point, I'm sure all the other Jews were saying, see, he claimed to be the Messiah. And all of a sudden he realized what it says in Isaiah, in Deuteronomy, that cursed is any man that hangs upon a tree. And so he realized that he's now in this repentant mode, right? That he realizes that we finally got the upper hand. We're gonna silence this so-called Messiah, this King of the Jews. We can go on about our business, and Jesus will now be out of our hair. I could imagine the disciples there saying, now that doesn't make sense. He's calling upon God, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. God, why are you forsaking me? Because I thought there were times that Jesus said, I will always be with you. I'm never going to leave you or forsake you. He said that, and yet here he is saying, God, why are you forsaking me? It's because it's what's taking place on another hill. See, because over there is Golgotha, the place of the skull. And they're trying to silence Jesus to go along so we can get back to our religious practice. And what's taking place on another hill is the Temple Mount. And on the Temple Mount, the other high priests, the other chief priests are there. And they're sacrificing thousands of lambs. Thousands of little sheepies. Because it says, we someday were covered by the blood. That every time that there is sin, to have a right relationship with God, there has to be an atoning sacrifice. And so back in the Exodus, God sets this in motion to say, you're going to find this perfect lamb and you sacrifice it. And then what will happen is, okay, now you're covered by the blood for X amount of time. During Passover, which was the holy holiday, the high Sabbath, what they would do is they would have this national day of atonement, Yom Kippur, and so that all the people would be covered by the blood, and all people would be in a right relationship with God. And so we wanted to hurry up and get done with this so they can get back to this over here. You see, but what's happening at this very moment is this thing called a substitutionary atonement. I gave you that so later today when you say, hey, what'd you learn? You actually have something you said that you learned, right? What'd you learn today? Substitutionary atonement. So write it down. Well, I don't know how to spell it. Nobody does. Just do your best to sound it out. Right? So the atonement means the shedding of blood. Right? And so over here on this hill is the atoning sacrifice. Right? But it was short term. It was never meant to be long term. Then the idea of substitutionary, everybody knows what that means, because what's a substitute teacher? Right? Well, that's the person that we get to talk when they're not there. And the real teacher's not there, we get to talk and have fun. Right? It's like the definition of substitute. We can just get to watch movies and hang out and have fun because the real teacher's not here. The substitutionary is taking the place of. So here's Jesus is taking the place of the sacrifice that should be you and I. So when he says, my God, why are you forsaking me? He's saying, God, why are you turning your back on me? Because first you need to hear this, that God cannot be where sin is, and sin cannot be where God is. Right. Want me to say that again? God cannot be where sin is. So literally, this moment, God in human form has to turn his back on himself because the sins of you and I are now placed upon him. I read the Bible and I'm like, man, so many times there's such a dichotomy. There's such tension. Because the person, the only person who is perfect, became imperfect, so that those of us who are imperfect one day shall become perfect. Amen. And so when he says, my God, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, your back? So some of the people that were there, we saw in the video, would have been the chief priest, the Jewish ruling council. In Luke 23:34, I can imagine after he says this, it riles them up. Hey, you said that you were the Messiah. You said in 3 days you could tear down the temple. You know what's going on over here in the temple? You think you can tear it down? In 3 days you're going to rise it back up? All right, Mr. Macho who hanging upon a cross. To prove to all of us that you can do that, the first thing we want you to do is pull yourself off the cross. Save yourself. How can you save others when you can't save yourself? And Jesus looks at him. And what does he do? I imagine he pushes up because he has to get another breath. Hey, Dad, Abba, Father, man, will you forgive them? They don't know what they're doing. It blows me away that the very people that lied about him, that spit upon him, that punched him, that mocked him, that stripped him naked and hung him up there as a humiliation to let him die, suffocate in front of everybody, he wastes his breath to say, God, Dad, it's not their fault, man. They don't understand what they're doing. Forgive them. Why? Because in their mind, they're thinking of that other hill, right? We're going to shut up Jesus so we can get back to the important thing. He says, God, they don't know what they're doing, man. Like they think that they're doing right. Forgive them. I fast forward 2,000 years later, and how many times do we use God's name in vain? Do we minimize who He is? Do we go out and violate the trust and the relationship that we say that we have? And I remember back to those, yeah, they don't know what they're doing. Please forgive them. Man, He's wasted His breath on these people. Like, we're not even nice to the people we love. Have you noticed that? Everyone's like, it's true. Like, you've been at home, right? I grew up in a house, and my mom would say some of the meanest things to me. You know, I love you, honey. Why didn't you just probably gonna knock me the next week? I brought you into this world, child. I'll take you out of it. Because I love you. Mama! So, like, y'all can, like, play nice. It's church, and we're all, like, just like that. But we don't even talk nicely to the people who are, like, we're supposed to love. And now Jesus is, like, ramping it up. He says, I don't want you just to love people that you're supposed to love, but He modeled for us those that ridiculed, mocked, humiliated, beat Him. He forgave. And He loved. The very next thing that I hear is there were some thieves. And the thief to the right of Jesus, you saw it in the video, he looks at him and he's like, hey, like, I realize that I'm supposed to be here, but I'm sorry they're doing this to you. He said everybody else was reviling him. Even the other thieves were making fun of him, except this guy. And he says, my punishment is just. Like, I've realized that I've messed up. But I bet you this thief knew him or knew of him. What does he ask for? Forgiveness. I mean, in the midst of this situation, Jesus still had His dignity. That Jesus was still showing love. Still offering grace and forgiveness. And He looks at him and what does He say to him? Today, you will be with me in paradise. Today, you will be with me in paradise. And again, we can get into the theological implications. We can talk about, well, it was
Actually, Thursday evening, which had been Friday, then Saturday and Sunday, then three.
We don't need to get into the theological implications. All he was saying is I am the way, the truth, and the life. The only way that you're going to make it to heaven is through me. And this man, while he's hanging next to Jesus, realizes that there's something special about him. It says, could you offer that same forgiveness that you just said to everybody else? Could you give it to me as well? Yeah. I can. And I will. Then in John 19, verses 26 and 27, like all the other ones make sense to me, but this is the only one, as I was studying and reflecting this week, this is the only one. It took me a long time to understand what's going on. Right? I get that he's offering, making people understand that there's this forsakenness, that God has turned his back on him, and that's the reason why there's darkness that covered the earth, because literally the sun had to turn away from God, right? That there wasn't this relationship, that earth felt that. I get that. I get that there's forgiveness for the people, there's forgiveness for the thief, but in John chapter 19, there's this weird statement. He looks at a guy, his disciple, John, whom he loves, and he says, then there's his mama. He says, woman! Which again, like you, if I would have called my mom woman, she probably would have nailed me to a cross. Right? But he looks at her and he said, woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mama. That's what I call my mom. Some of you call your mom mother. Some of you call your mom mom. But I call my mom mama. I said, I love you, mama. I said, I love you too, son. And it wasn't till I understood the relationship that I had with my mama that I understand what was taking place in John chapter 19. You see, as he's on the cross, his next breath, it's never about himself. Do you see that? That his mom's there and his disciple whom he loves, and he goes, hey, John, make sure you take care of my mom. Wow. Like, if you want to see me lose my salvation, just about losing my salvation. Talk about my mom. Right? I am nice, loving, kind, Pastor Ben. But you mess with my mama, there is something that takes place inside of me that was like, "Wah!" Heck up! Ladies, young ladies, those who are single, let me give you some great pastorly advice. You want to know what kind of man that you should marry? Look and see how he treats his mother. That lady brought him into this world. I'm going to take him out of it. And if he doesn't love his mama, if he doesn't care for his mama, he's going to care for you. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Write it down. And everybody who understands what I'm talking about, that's good. He isn't worried about himself. He said, John, take care of my mom. That also elevates how he thought about John. Right? Then if you start to notice, his breath becomes more labored, because in these first 4 sayings, it's 4, 5, 6 words, and now it becomes in rapid succession.